Japan has successfully deployed 2 lander rovers onto the surface of the asteroid Ryugu. The tiny robotic rovers Minerva 2-1A and Minerva 2-1B were housed inside a drum-shaped descent module, which was jettisoned from the Hayabusa 2 orbiter towards the asteroid's boulder-strewn surface. The 1 kilogram rovers were then released from their canister at an altitude of about 60 metres and allowed to fall independently to the ground. Each rover is equipped with a wide-angle and stereo camera and a scientific instruments package. The asteroid Ryugu is only about 950 metres across, so it has extremely low mass and hence low gravity. And that's a problem because the Japanese Space Exploration Agency JAXA didn't want a repeat of what happened to the European Space Agency's Rosetta mission. Rosetta failed to properly place its lander Philae onto the surface of the comet 67P Churyumov-Gerasimenko. Instead of staying put on the comet's surface using a small push rocket motor mounted on the lander's roof, combined with anchoring harpoons and spears in the lander's legs, Philae rebounded back up at least 1 kilometre into space, before bouncing at least once more and finally coming to rest upside down in a dark ditch. The hockey puck-shaped Minerva 2-1A and B are instead designed to hop and float across the asteroid's blackish-coloured surface using internal rotors. Glenn Nagle from NASA's Deep Space Communications Complex in Canberra says the American Space Agency's been supporting the Hayabusa 2 mission since its launch in December 2014.
So our CSIRO managed station here in Canberra, part of NASA's Deep Space Network, has been providing part of the communication support for the Hayabusa 2 mission since its launch in 2014 and right throughout its journey to actually get to asteroid Ryugu in the first place. And of course, over the last few days and hours, been supporting the spacecraft as it landed the first 2 of 4 rovers on the surface of the asteroid. They have successful contact with both of the spacecraft.
And the next big event, I guess, comes on the 3rd of October when the Mascot rover touches down.
Yes, it's certainly the plan for early October to set down Mascot, a much larger rover than previously, with the 2 sort of almost biscuit tin-sized Minerva spacecraft.
And there's also the Minerva 2-2 rover yet to land as well, the 4th of these rovers.
Yeah, so that may look sometime into 2019. So part of the ongoing planning of the mission will be to look for other landing sites where they can place these quite dynamic little vehicles that are going to sort of fling themselves about in the incredibly low gravity of the asteroid, 60,000 times weaker than our own planet's gravity.
Of course, that's been a big problem in the past, hasn't it? I mean, you only have to think back to the Rosetta mission from the European Space Agency, where gravity played a, let's face it, not insignificant role in Philae's failure to be able to anchor itself and stay on the ground when it got there.
Yeah, landing on these very small worlds is very difficult. I mean, the shape of them means that gravity is pulling in multiple directions. The gravity, of course, is incredibly low. The surface themselves is not sort of a nice solid ground like we think here. It's really a jumbled collection of rocks and dirty material. So you do not know what you're going to find. And certainly the Hayabusa team, they've got a lot of experience that they can call on. Their first mission, Hayabusa 1, deployed rovers that actually missed the asteroid that they were aiming for. So they've gone to a lot of extra care to take those lessons of the past and make sure that they get a successful touchdown with these first of these 4 rovers. Of course, the spacecraft itself has got to land and take its own samples from the surface of the asteroid and then eventually return those to Earth, landing them out in Australia Desert. So it's going to be quite interesting, this information that gets returned from these spacecraft over the next few years, so we can really understand much more about the characteristics of asteroids and their story about the solar system, life in the solar system, and even their potential threat to planet Earth.
That's the CSIRO's Glenn Nagle from NASA's Deep Space Communications Complex in Canberra. The Hayabusa 2 spacecraft will deploy 2 more rovers, another small rover, the Minerva 2-2, and the mission's primary lander, 10-kilogram Mascot rover, which will touch down on October the 3rd. Mascot carries an infrared spectrometer, a magnetometer, a radiometer, and a camera to image the small-scale structure, distribution and texture of the regolith. It's designed to move across the surface by tumbling to reposition itself for further measurements. The Hayabusa 2 mission launched on a Japanese H-2A rocket from the Tanegashima Space Center south of Tokyo, arriving at Ryugu in June. In all, the spacecraft will spend 18 months studying the asteroid's chemical composition, its structure, its early history and evolution.